Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 9 Nights of the Alternate Table. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about what if World War I never happened. This is the World War I in our timeline. As to not raise any confusion, there will be another World War I in this timeline, so I don't want to hear complaints in the comics. Make sure to like and subscribe and watch to the end. Thank you. So, where the diverge in our timeline happens is Russia doesn't support Serbia, so they're faced with letting Serbians having to be ruled under Austrian-Hungarian police, or be invaded and probably annexed by Austria-Hungary. So, they would choose the first option, with Austria being supported by Germany, and them being supported by no one. With Austrian-Hungarian police operating in Serbia, this would create Serbia to be sort of a satellite state, then a puppet, until Austria fully annexes them, not to the shock of the rest of Europe who saw this coming, trying to avoid a war between major European powers. This would be a small price to pay for the millions of lives that would be lost if a world war did happen to break out. Meanwhile, Russia, for not supporting their ally, would be mocked by the European powers. They would be made a fool of. The Romanovs and Tsar Nicholas II would become a mockery, even more so than they did in our timeline, with an actual world war. But unlike this, the people would be furious at Russians being embarrassed by the royal family and the government who backed down. A democratic uprising by the people for the people would soon happen, with the Western being democratic and the Eastern being more monarchist. This, since it would be a democratic uprising for the people, you wouldn't see countries such as Finland, the Baltics, Poland, or Ukraine breaking away, and rather wanting to stay unified and supporting the democratic Russia. Meanwhile, monarchist countries such as Britain and Germany would start supporting the Romanovs and monarchist Russia against the French, who are supporting the democratic Russians, as they want to be more of a republic. The US would not intervene, as they're still in an isolation state. This would drive ties between Britain and France even more than was already. Britain, Germany, and monarchist Austria-Hungary would fight against Austria-Hungary, democratic Russia, and France, though democratic Russia won out in the end, because Siberia doesn't have enough men and troops to fight the main part of Russia, Western. This would create a small alliance between Britain and Germany and the monarchist nations versus the more democratic nations. With the monarchist nations fearing that something like Napoleon would happen, or the year of 1848, where revolutions soon take hold of all of them, would decide to crush all democratic things. Greece, much in our timeline, where there was a war between democratic and monarchism in World War I, would happen. Benelux would also join, as well as Italy and Iberia, to stop these democratic uprisings. Unlike the World War I in our timeline, there would be an even stronger push for mobility, as neither sides want to be bogged down into a trench and wait, as all sides are fighting on two fronts. Portugal and Spain would mainly focus on destroying the Mediterranean trade, while Germany would be surrounded by France and Russia and would fight on three sides, with Austria-Hungary, Russia, and France all teaming up on them. While Britain tries to land in France and sends troops to Iberia, while Benelux pushes into France. Greece would then try to keep the Mediterranean trade alive, though Italy would begin its campaigns into Austria-Hungary. This would be a bloody couple of years while this dispute is settled. Though France pushed into half of Benelux, even knocking out Luxembourg during the war, they'd be the first to collapse, as they would be fighting a three-front war. Four fronts won the British land, so they would quickly surrender, leaving everyone looking to the east and south. To begin, this would have massive troops flooding into Russia and Austria-Hungary, while Greece would begin slowly losing islands to an island campaign done by the Iberians. Another thing to mention before we continue is the Japanese and colonialism involvement, as even though they weren't a main player in the war, they still had a huge effect on the outcome by doing trade ships. So even though they're not fully mentioned, they would help out the nations. Meanwhile, Greece would be knocked out, leaving Austria-Hungary and Russia to surrender, as they cannot fight this war with themselves. Russia would be broken up, so there wouldn't be such a nation in Europe that was huge in politics and deciding. So, it would be broken up into the Kingdom of Ukraine, the Kingdom of Poland, the Kingdom of Belarus, the Siberian Republic, Ingria, and Finland, while Russia itself would reinstate the Romanovs, with Tsar Nicholas's younger siblings taking over. Austria-Hungary would also divided against from the Allies, with Ukraine and Poland also gaining land from them, while Romania, though they did not fight, would gain land to keep some wars from happening. Czechoslovakia would unify along with Yugoslavia. Hungary would become independent, though Austria would be annexed by Germany, and small lands would be taken with Italy, who would meet all of their demands, because they were such a vital part in the war. France would also lose land to Spain, Benelux, besides Luxembourg, and Italy, and Britain. Britain would gain most of French colonies, including French Indochina. Italy would gain a lot of Africa, expanding their Libyan, as well as Belgium and the Netherlands gaining land, though the Netherlands not directly connected to France. Luxembourg would miss out land as they were taken out early and did not get to negotiate.